Join us as we dive into the history, hauntings, and high strangeness of the world to try to better understand the paranormal. I will be your guide. I am paranormal researcher and investigator Eric Freeman Sims. Welcome to the Unseen Paranormal Podcast. Hey everybody, Eric here. Just wanted to give you an update on a few things. For one, this is our season finale for season 3 of the Unseen Paranormal. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's over an hour long. I wanted to give you a good long one. We take a deep dive with Mr. Bryan Bowden into the world of werewolves and dogmen. And I had a great conversation with him. He's a good buddy of mine, and it's always great to talk to him. He's a trip. So enjoy this episode. But before we get to that, we've got lots of things coming up for spooky season. Coming up August 26th, which is this coming Saturday, I will be in my hometown of Fairview, Tennessee. So if you are in the Middle Tennessee area, come out and see me at the Fairview Arts Council mini Comic-Con. I will be speaking, I think, at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'll have a booth there all day. It's at Bowie Nature Park in Fairview, Tennessee, just outside of Nashville. And then on September 2nd, we are doing another ghost hunt, public ghost hunt, to raise some more money for the expo at the Old Stone Jail and the Simpson County Archives and Museum up in Franklin, Kentucky. Tickets are on sale now. You can go get those links over on the Unseen Paranormal Podcast Facebook page. And then, where else am I going to be? Let's see, September 9th, I will be right outside Louisville at Fort Duffield. Fort Duffield is outside of Louisville, Kentucky. Fort Duffield is a new haunted location that has been opened up by Ernie and Denise Pack of Pac-Man Paranormal. They are overseeing it, and they're allowing teams to come in there. So they need to raise some money. So they're doing a car show and a cookout. And I'll be there having a booth all day, along with Brandon Alvis, Mustafa Gattalori from A&E's Ghost Hunters and Haunted Discoveries, hanging out with them, two of my buddies. And then on September 15th, I'll be back here in my hometown of Fairview, Tennessee. They do a big thing at the Bowie Nature Park called Nature Fest. I think last year it drew out about 20,000 people, so it's a big event. And then October 1st, I will be roaming around the Gallatin Fall Fest in downtown Gallatin, Tennessee, and kind of hang out with my buddy Alan Searcy at his tent and handing out some stuff and talking about Trousdale Place, which is one of our beneficiaries for the Tennessee Haunts and Legends Expo. And, I forgot September 30th. September 30th, I will be in Gatlinburg. I will be emceeing for the live show of Hillbilly Horror Stories. So very honored that Jerry asked me to come out and MC their show that night. And so we'll have some fun out in Gatlinburg. And then we got some other stuff coming up in October that I haven't announced yet. But October 21st, we have our Tennessee Haunts and Legends Expo. Tickets are on sale now. They're $10 per person. 12 and under are free. So kids are free. It's $10 parking. And I just want you to know we make no money off the parking. That all goes to the fairgrounds. That's their deal. They just upped it from $5 to $10. So if you got a problem with that, take it up with them. We have nothing to do with that. We have a 27,000 square foot expo space that we will have over 80 vendors, and all of our speakers will have booths. We have a full day of speakers from Pat Fitzhugh talking about the Bell Witch. We have Mike Wiley coming in talking about Bigfoot in Tennessee. We have Alan Searcy from Southern Ghost Stories, a series of books and podcasts. He's going to be talking about hauntings and weird stories all over Tennessee. We have Sin Schrader Hill. We have, who am I missing? We have Ron Murphy coming all the way from Pennsylvania to give an awesome presentation. If y'all never seen Ron Murphy give a presentation, he's an amazing guy. And our key speakers are Brandon Alvis and Mustafa Gattalori from A&E's Ghost Hunters and from Haunted Discoveries. And they're out there. Were paracelebs at one time, but they're out there on the ground doing the real research and doing real investigations and things. And I really respect those guys. I've been fortunate enough to become buddies with them and have the utmost respect for both of them. And I am beyond flattered that they agreed to come and do our event. And so it's just going to be a great event of, like I said, all kinds of different vendors and paranormal teams and speakers. And we've tried to get a good mix of vendors. I've just been to some expos and conventions that it's all crystal vendors and shit like that. We wanted artists and podcasts, and there's going to be, I think, 4 other podcasts besides mine there. Paranormal Podcast. We're going to have Missing Persons and Mysteries YouTube channel there. We're going to have a couple other YouTube channels there. Just trying to bring the whole paranormal community together, especially for Middle Tennessee, since we don't have an event like this. So like I said, come on out and join us for the biggest paranormal event of 2023 in Middle Tennessee. You don't want to miss out. That's at the Nashville Fairgrounds, October 21st from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Once again, tickets are $10 per person, and kids 12 and under are free. So bring the whole family out, have fun. And it ends early enough that you can, come and hang out with us for a while, see some speakers, and then go hit a haunted house right before Halloween. But anyway, enough of my rambling bullshit on here. Let's get to today's guest, Bryan Bowden, and the season 3 finale of The Unseen Paranormal. Until we meet again, friends, in November, y'all stay safe out there. We'll see you then. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Today, we are chatting with a friend of mine, Bryan Bowden. He is a researcher and investigator of UFO phenomena, Sasquatch, Dogman, and many other matters of high strangers, supernatural, and paranormal. Bryan is a member of the International Remote Viewers Association, founder and director of both Ny State UFO Project and Ny State Sasquatch Organization, and has served as the director of the North American Dogman Project, New State chapter, and as the North American correspondent for Outer Limits magazine. He's appeared on many podcasts and radio shows and has been a speaker and presenter at numerous conferences around the U.S. So since y'all know he's qualified now, let's bring him into the show. Hey, Bryan, how's it going? Welcome to the show.
It's going good. This guy sounds great. I don't know who he is, but it sounds great. Who's this guest you have on? Yeah, that's me. I joke around a lot, but everything's good. I appreciate you having me on your amazing podcast. It was really interesting. We got to thank Cisco for introducing us at Gettysburg.
Yeah, the Battlefield Bash. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of like, I always call these things like kismet, like we're built to meet each other.
Right.
That we're supposed to, and it's just there's little mile markers where you come across people, you're like, this person is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how it was. And both you guys were awesome, and I'm just thankful to be on your show. Whatever I can help you with or talk about, I will.
Yeah. I haven't really done a deep dive into especially Dogman or UFOs. I've had a few UFO people on, but Dogmen really fascinate me, and how the phenomenon of Dogman over the past 10 years has really become a bigger subject in the paranormal and more prevalent. So how did you get into how did you get into researching Dogman and into the whole subject of Dogman and werewolves and that type of stuff?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, anybody that says that they're an expert in this field, as soon as they say it, turn around and run as fast as you can. Because no one's an expert. I do have a bunch of years of experience in the field, and I use the term boots on the ground. Some people are abusing that, but I'm one of those guys. I don't sit in the chair or watch YouTube videos, hear radio shows. I actually go out there and I'm sitting in the flop, for a day or two, and I smell, and it's disgusting, and you're in the field researching. Right. You sit on wet leaves for a while. It's terrible. But I got into this because one of the guys I go out with, my buddy and partner, he started talking to me about, you got to hear about this. You got to hear about this. It's a thing called a Dogman, and it was like a werewolf. And I'm like, okay, we jumped the shark on this one, right? We went above and beyond where we should be. And I thought, come on, enough of this craziness. And then you start listening to some of the stories. Then you start talking about it briefly. And then I got contacted by individuals using phone numbers that are, the caller ID is 00000000000, all zeros, with the moniker government or U.S. government or whatever, just to let you know that you're talking to somebody on a secured line. They're not going to reveal their caller ID. And I started having conversations with people. I don't know who they are, but they knew who I was or how to get to me. And they're telling me that this thing is 100% real. They go out, and part of their job in the military is to protect government bases. And they will go in the woods, and they will do what they have to do to get that done. And you're like, oh my God, this person has, a lot to lose by, one, talking to me, and two, nothing to gain. There's no financial gain
Right.
from it. I mean, I guess once they finish their tour and they, maybe a non-disclosure aspect, it's like 25, 30 years from that point, maybe they'll come out with a book, my best friend was a dog man, something like that. And then you start doing it and researching it and you're like, oh my God, this is real. And then you have an experience. And then you have another experience. And that's how I got into it. And I didn't want to believe this, but for all those people that are listening that don't know about Dogman, there are 7 variants that have been talked about thanks to the Vic Cundiff show. Vic was the one that was the forefather of this coming out to the light in his Dogman Encounters radio show. And, through all the different tales throughout the country, even the world, they've discovered there are about 7 different types of variants. Something going from what looks like a timber wolf, really big, or coy wolf, all the way up to something out of Van Helsing, like a 12-footer. Looks like it's going to kill you type of thing. So
yeah,
that's where it started. And then I started having like little bits and pieces of encounters. One of my first experiences was there was a group of people up in the Hudson Valley, which is upstate New York, and they were doing research into Bigfoot and stuff to that effect. And they were trying to be very good with kids and promote it to the children and do like Bigfoot seminars, and they would take pictures of them talking to these group of kids that were, resting on the ground, like watching this going. And in one of those photos there was a dogman in the picture, and it was watching them do it. And this thing had to be about 8-9 feet tall, very nasty, looked like a werewolf, like your typical werewolf on the TV shows or movies. And so I contacted them, like, listen, there's a dogman there. It's not safe for you to continue to do this. And I eventually made friends with the people that run that Hudson Valley group, and we went up to their property. And it just so happened that probably like 24 to 48 hours prior to us getting up there, they had an issue in their property with a dogman, actually 2 dogmen. And let me set the stage for you. So they do fishing in their property. And they have a fishing store in the back end of the garage, one of the garages, right? Their house, when you roll up on it, right by some water in upstate New York, there's a front porch that would be the front entrance, and then it goes into their house, and it's a 2-3-story house. About 3 o'clock in the morning, this woman she's sleeping on the porch side of it, and she hears the doorbell ringer for her store, which is in the garage, and the doorbell for the front door, which is right there off the porch she's sleeping on. She converted the porch to a room type of thing. And what basically happened, it would go ding, dong, ding, dong, ding, dong. Now, in order for that to happen, 2 different things had to be pressing the bell. And this is dogman type of activity. These creatures usually don't go out by themselves. They usually go in pairs. Okay, it's a pack mentality for the most part. Think of dogs. The more dogs, the more brazen they are. And I don't know, we still don't know why they do this, but they love to mess around with human beings, right? They love to scare the hell out of us and do certain things and get us to come outside the house. And I think they were trying to get this lady to come outside. And she sleeps with a loaded shotgun by her bed, and she didn't come outside. So when we went up there, she tells us this story. We went up there like 2 days later, tells us what's been going on. There are prints on the ground by the window. But the weirdest print is anybody's seen a front porch, there's usually a center stairs, and then, the porch goes left or right before you get into the house. Well, on that front porch door that was closed in and closed, there's a 9-panel piece of glass there. And there was a handprint on one of the panels, actually a couple of the panels. But the weird thing is the handprint, instead of it being with your fingers up the air, it was reversed. And I knew exactly what was taking place. She's like, I can't figure out the print. How did it do that with its hand? I said, because it was on your roof. So this thing climbed up on top of her patio roof and was literally leaning in upside down and pressed their handprint on the glass. And it's an amazing handprint. And she was blown away by that. She's seasoned researcher for Bigfoot, and she knows she has Dogman in the area, but she's never had Dogman come to the house. So that was the first experience.
Yeah.
And it's pretty unnerving. If you think how brazen this thing is, these are the reports. These reports of upstate New York. We do reports globally. Okay, so we'll take a report for anywhere in the world, and they are everywhere. So usually we've deduced that if you have Bigfoot in your area, you also have Dogmen. And there's usually a barrier in between that separates the two. Usually a water, a river, a mountain, and basically you stay on your side and we'll stay on our side, like Hatfields and McCoys, right? And the Dogmen are always like, nah, we're going to screw around with you. And they'll come across and they'll mess around and they'll always step over the line. Bigfoot more and be like, dude, don't do it. You know, it's just a very strange creature. We get reports of people in upstate New York where they're toying with people, they're scratching at the door, they're jiggling your door handle like they want to come out, they want you to come out. We have reports of like people being in the room, usually young, you know, it's a lot more young girls in their upstairs, their bedroom, sitting there by the windows will open and they can see out in the dark and there's a snout and they hear the breathing of this thing right there scaring the crap out of them. So, I mean, it's more brazen than Bigfoot would ever be. If you've seen these things, I don't care what anybody says, they're there to do damage and that's their job. And it's just a bizarre type of creature. They're very smart. It's kind of like, you know, the vampire mentality where in all the stories, you have to invite a vampire into your house. Otherwise, it can't go.
Yeah.
Well, here you have this 7 to 12 foot killing machine, like something out of Van Helsing, that's playing with your door. That could just go boom and hit your door and open it up and walk in. But for some reason, they don't. And we still don't know is that purposely done? Are they not allowed to come into the home? Is it a holy thing, a sacred thing? Or is it just messing around with people? There are other stories where there's a guy that went out into the woods. He went hunting, 30-06, comes up against the Dogman and scared out of his gourd, and he starts shooting at it, and he just lets loose on the damn thing. Probably not killing it, but wounding it enough. And the next thing you know, he travels the 250 miles, 400 miles back to his home, and he's mauled to death. He's telling people what took place. He's mauled to death at his home.
Wow.
But I mean, like the scratch marks and of course the law enforcement and the powers that be will cover that up. They don't need you to see that. But there are plenty of things that take place in the news that you'd read. Like recently, there was a dog attack in the South. Not recent, but within a year or two. And these wild packs of dogs, wasn't a wild pack of dogs. It wasn't. This lady was killed by one of these creatures. Recently in Arizona, probably 2 months ago, there was a report. This was, people just don't get it. They had to close down one of the national deserts or whatever it is in Arizona from a bear attack. When the hell did you ever hear of a bear attack in Arizona?
Right. I mean, even here in Tennessee, we have lots of bears in the Appalachian Mountains, but the attacks are way few and far between.
Right.
I mean, having, a big healthy population of bears in the Appalachian Mountains.
If you told me Pacific Northwest and you said brown bear, Kodiak, grizzly, yeah, I could see that stuff. People walk into the wild. I see it all the time. You see people walking into the wild or just out their front door in California. There's a big bobcat there and it's stalking them.
Yeah.
And to the bobcat, ooh, that's lunch right there. I don't know how I'm going to get through that backpack, but wow, those legs are pretty good. And that's what happens. You're being chased. I've seen bears chase. If they're hungry, they will chase you down. They'll run your ass down. But most of the time, brown bears are, the black bear is just like, nah, I'm done. I got to get out of here, And I don't deny that there may be some kind of bears out. I'm not an anthropologist in Arizona. I don't deny that. But come on, bear attack? I don't think so.
Yeah.
There was another story more than 6 months ago in Colorado, in one of the national parks. It was closed down, and they put a 15-mile perimeter around it because what happened is something was in the park and mauled the crap out of multiple people. They killed them.
Yeah.
Shredded, ripped apart. So the military went in, and that's how it works. Like when I started by telling you, I was talking to somebody in the military. You know, they identify. I work for the government. I'm in the military. This is their job. When they have these type of things, they cordon off an area, and they literally send a team in, and they just go, you know, they clear the park. They go in both directions like a clock, and they swoop around, and they clear and kill anything and everything that's there. And, you know, there was helicopters. Someone reported seeing a very large something being airlifted out, but in the dark of night. But they can tell that it wasn't the shape of a tank or a car or anything. It was just something huge. It looked like a giant body bag, they said.
Yeah.
That's what happens with these creatures. Now, and they're all over. I'm sorry, a little bit all over the place, but I remember one of my first experiences with them is I went to Elkington, Maryland. My cousin lives in Delaware. I went down there for Thanksgiving to go to my cousin's house. So instead of staying at her house, we usually rented a hotel room, and I found one in Elkington, and it has a pool, and it's just nice, and right next to a Waffle House. If you haven't been there, folks, go to Waffle House. You know, it's got to be within walking distance of a Waffle House. And we were down there, and as I'm driving through Elkington, and I've been there a couple of times, but this is after the fact that I've been now heavily researching the Dogman. And there's a lot of signs that are out there that says, wow, this is like Squatchy/Dogman. And there's certain things. There's trees leaned over. There's bends and certain signs that you would associate with both of these people, you know. And it's just one of those things where you just know. You get a vibe or feeling like, I'm sure when you go ghost hunting, right?
Yeah.
You go out, and when you get in there because of your sixth sense, we'll call it that, you go in, and what happens is you just get that, yeah, something's going to happen. You know?
Yeah, you kind of know. You kind of know if there's something in the room with you, and you can kind of feel when that energy kind of flatlines and there's nothing else going to happen.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like I know one of my tells is, first of all, I have a sixth sense. Like, we're going to have something. I usually will get, if I know something's going to take place prior, for about a week prior to the investigation, I'll start getting these things via the dream state. I'll be getting these visions and dreams taking place where I know something's going to happen, like a foreshadowing or whatever. Not in a negative way though, but it's like, yeah, we're going to have an experience. And I walk into a place, and when it really gets real, I get the goosebumps on my arm that they stand up.
Yeah.
So we were there, and we had to get a floor on the first floor room. So it's my wife, my two kids, and we both smoke. So we leave, we go out, we'll walk out the side door, which is convenient, and go smoke a cigarette. And at night, I just had a feeling like something's not right. Normally, you hear the chirping of crickets down, you know, in that area, or something like nightlife, and there wasn't any. It just stopped after a while, and I kind of got this weird feeling like something ain't right here. And as I look into the woods, I see these two amber dots, not like eye shine, but bigger. I mean, like, they look like $50 like lit up. And I'm like, okay, is that like a street light, you know, where they put it on amber sometimes in the small towns?
Yeah.
Just to say, yeah, you don't need a street light, just go slow. And well, the street light starts moving. And I start hearing this creak, very, you know, purposeful but small creak. And things are breaking, twig-wise. Now, I'm standing right outside the door looking at this path that goes through the woods, and there's a couple of arches in it that I noticed earlier on. And now it's dark. And not only do I hear something coming straight at me, towards me, but I hear something that sounds like it's circling to the left of me. To the right of me, it would be an open field, and then the railroad tracks, and I'd be able to see it. The left would be more covert. And it's getting louder, and it's getting closer. So I do a quick search. I said, werewolves, Elkington, Maryland. And lo and behold, just as I thought, are near where this hotel was. A husband and wife were coming back one night down one of these dark country roads, and they come upon something feeding on roadkill in the middle of the street. Looks like a dog. So they stop their car, and the dog's head picks up, and they said, stood up, blood on its snout, and it stood up, and it was about 8-9 feet tall, and it was a werewolf, and it growled, it showed its teeth, and ran away, and they couldn't get out of there fast enough. And the location of where this took place was probably no more than 2 miles away from my hotel. I've been down that road earlier that day. I went a back road to get to the hotel. So now there I am, and it's like 10 o'clock at night, very quiet, this thing's coming, and then as it gets closer and closer to me, goosebumps hit. And I'm like, that's my sign that says it's time to go.
Yeah.
I put the cigarette out, and I go back in, and I tell my wife, like, don't go outside that side end, because you're going to go smoke a cigarette, do it in the front. And for the first time in my life, I literally took one of those rolling chairs they had there for the desk after she came back, and I put it up against the door. Not like that was going to do anything, but for me, I don't normally get scared, but I'm like, okay, I need to create a little bit more of a barrier for something. Whatever. That was that. And that was the whole entire experience. Now, later that morning when daylight was there, I looked. I didn't see any footprints or anything, but it was just a feeling and a gut feeling on that end of it.
Yeah.
And later on, another 2 reports in the same area, people seeing this. I actually got someone contact me directly, and they used to jog around that area, and their daughter was jogging there at one point, and she said she felt like somebody was tracking her, and she kept hearing as she's running down the street or this path, she kept hearing somebody kind of paralleling her and making noise, and she got so unnerved, she split, she went to the main road, and she ran as fast as she could to get the hell out of there. And there were some reports of that, which are very interesting to corroborate the fact that something is taking place in that area.
Yeah. Going back to what you're talking about with the national parks.
Yeah.
I'm big into the missing 411 stuff and going down those rabbit holes with David Pilates stories and things. And there's quite a few stories out there that are interesting with the missing 411 stuff where, and you're talking about the military and stuff coming in, our government doesn't investigate, like the federal government doesn't investigate missing persons. They don't. That's the local law enforcement. But you have some of these missing person cases where the FBI comes in or the military comes in, a lot of times under the guise of helping look for these people, just, having bodies on the ground, boots on the ground to look for these people. And then, like you're saying, closing it off and not letting the families in, not letting other volunteers in. That's kind of a narrative along some of these stories. And one of the stories that is in, I think David Pilates' newest documentary about the UFO connection or something like that is in Canada. And I found the story interesting because, and it kind of goes along with what you're saying, where they close it down. The kind of the special forces of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police came in on this case, and this guy had been camping at this one spot by the lake for years. Him and his wife had gone there for years, and he decided to go down there. Took his dogs with him. He had 2 dogs, and they weren't hunting dogs or anything, but he was just going down there to fish and camp for a couple of nights and supposed to come back home, and he never did. So they go down to where he's camping. They find his dogs were shut up in the camper, but they were fine. No signs of him. They finally found his clothes in a tree, strung up in a tree on the bank of the lake. And he interviews one of the rescue workers. This is what this guy does for a living, is search and rescue. And he said when the special forces of the RCMP came in, they came in with, for one, what was weird was they came in with, AR-15s and fully, tactical outfits. Not like they were looking for a missing person, but they were looking to, kill something. And he said after about half a day of searching, they told everybody that you're not going to find the guy. He drowned. We're not going to find his body. Everybody just needs to leave. And they made everybody get out of that area of this park and away from this lake. And he thought that was really weird because the guy's been search and rescue for 20 years and he's never had this happen before. And so that's what made it a weird missing 411 case was that, like he said, they came in with AR-15s and things, and only after half a day or a day of searching, they made all of the search and rescue people leave. And It's just this weird thing where they come in and shut it down. And so that would make sense if you have some big predator like that, and they, maybe found evidence that, or they knew there's a predator in the area, so that's why they came in with the special forces guys, and like a Dogman, and shut it down. And to this day, like, the wife has no answers. They've never recovered a body, and it's just this weird thing. And then in the United States, you have some of the same things, like Land Between the Lakes. I live not very far from.
Yeah.
And I didn't know until last year. I went to a Cryptid Dogman conference in Paris, Tennessee, which is right on the Tennessee side of Land Between the Lakes. And there was a cover up there that they claim back in the 80s, a family that was camping got mauled by something, and they basically covered it up. And you can look this up. A family really did get mauled by an animal and killed.
Right.
But it's hard to find, but there are newspaper articles, and a lot of researchers believe it was Dogmen.
There's an individual that swears up and down that as far as the Land Between the Lakes, he was there and he was the lone survivor. I'm calling my partner in crime and say bullshit on that. He's just, I don't know what he's seeking, but I think he's full of crap. But in both those cases, you're finding body parts in trees and, like significant height of trees in places with, there. Normally you'd say, oh, a cat could do that, right? So if you have like a mountain lion,
yeah,
they like to climb up and eat their food on top of significant height, so no one was going to bother them. But this had none of the telltale signs of that kind of attack. Okay, this is literally like a shredding apart of whatever. And I'm not going to defend the Dogmen on this, but I do believe they're aggressive enough to go on the attack immediately. They're not, they're not pets. It's not like, Cujo or something like that. A dog sits there like, oh, he's so cute. No. I mean, they probably gave these individuals enough warning, get the hell out of Dodge, before one of them did something stupid, fired around in the air, and they went on the offensive. And they're not going to stop until you're done.
Yeah.
So I've heard some crazy stories of people claiming to put their hand down the Dogman's throat, please. There's no way. Just think about this. So if you had a rabid dog, no matter if it's pit bull or whatever, St. Bernard, think of one of the large dogs, St. Bernard, bull mastiff, a Leonberger, right? Leonberger sitting on its haunches is literally like 5 feet tall. You think you're going to stick your fist in that dog's mouth and it goes on attack? You're going to stay every inch of your body and your mind thinks, get away from the bite, right?
Right.
So you're somehow going to stick your fist in its mouth, and no, it's not going to happen. But
right.
one of my favorite experiences, I call it. There's a couple of times where I call it the pee-pee stories because I'm either stopping to take a piss or I have to or whatever it is. Right? And it's actually funny, and this is weird because it was. You'll understand what I'm saying. It wasn't on the offensive. It was very weird. Not what I was expecting. There's a place in upstate New York called Letchworth Village. And Letchworth Village was a 28,000 acre institution for criminally insane, disfigured kids, bastard children, anybody you wanted to get rid of. Old people, young people, what have you. And I'm trying to remember. I don't know. I think it was tuberculosis that they tested vaccination candidates on people from all ages at the hospital, and a lot of people died from that experimentation. It was done, of course, illegally, but people, at that time figured, no one's going to give a shit about these kids or these people, adults. They don't care about them now. So what if we test them? So Letchworth Village had a cemetery way away from most of the property. And that's where they just dumped bodies upon bodies. So we did Letchworth Village. We walked around there. We did an investigation. We had some really great stuff. An old lady came to visit us. We have apparition of a really nasty doctor that was hovering over a friend of ours in the autopsy room and the morgue. And our psychic's out in Arkansas, so she told us all these different things. I mean, it was a pretty good investigation. So my buddy and I, we wanted to do the cemetery because we heard about it and no one's really done it. So we pull up to this 2-lane country road, very quiet, and we pull up to the cemetery and we park on the road. You know, there's like a little pull-up area there, and you get out of your car and you walk down this path for about a quarter mile. Then it opens up, and in front of you, they actually, they started to find out which bodies were buried there. So they put a big placard up. So they poured a rectangle of stone, of cement, that was probably 4.5 feet high, and it was at least 6 feet wide. And then on there was a placard about the people that they've so far discovered that were buried in the cemetery to give them some kind of proper burial or respect. So, and then past that is this mound of earth, and there are little markers near it where bodies have been discovered. And there'll be names or little numbers, and you go back to the chart and you can see unknown or how old things are. Some people, the family found out, and they put tombstones down. So it's a nice little homage to them. Unfortunately, were killed. So you got to say something. When I'm doing this type of stuff right now, I'm in ghost hunting mode. I mean, I have I'm always have a portion of it in cryptid or UFO or whatever, but I'm primarily focused on EVPs. Turn the flashlight on and,
right.
ghost, right? So where the cemetery is in front of us, we decide to put our stuff behind the concrete wall so no one can see us if they walk through. And we, to protect our back just in case nothing can sneak up on us. And then there's like a little small pathway that goes to the right around this mound and to the left around this mound. Then it meets back up and there's a trail. And it just so happened that right next to the cemetery is one of those cutouts with the power lines, big power line area there, and that cuts through. So we're hanging out in there, and we walk in, and we're hanging out for about 20, 30 minutes, and all of a sudden we hear an ATV coming, really, really fast and furious. And these guys are going in there and like, we can't find them, and like they're looking. They clearly noticed that we were in there, and they're trying to figure out who the hell we are, what we're doing here. And I looked at my buddy Al. I'm like, maybe we should, we'll stop and introduce ourselves. So as they're coming back out, we stop, and they stop like, what are you doing here? They said, well, we're doing we're paranormal investigators doing an investigation of the cemetery. And they're like, they're investigating the cemetery. We're out of here. And they get out. Faster they come in, the faster they wanted to go. I found that very peculiar. It's full daytime. Yeah. So I'm like, wow, those guys get out of here. Don't you find it strange? And both me and my buddy, we grew up in the city. So, or near the city. We're streetwise. And we said, yeah, that is a little bit bizarre. They were in and out of here, like super fast, like they were robbing a bank type of fast. Okay. So we didn't let it happen, and we start doing our cemetery investigation. So I'm going one way on the cemetery, and my buddy Al's going the other way, where we can be with each other, but we're using different equipment. I'm asking different questions, the EVP questions, and I have it so that I have a recorder that I can hear in real time the EVP. So I have headphones on as I'm talking, and I'm waiting for responses and what have you. And we do that for a little bit. We hear this huge dog sound that's barking, like you would hear it like bouncing off the walls of the country for the most part, little different mounds and whatever. But I'm not into Dogman mode. I'm in ghost hunting mode. My buddy's like, wow, dog, it's a big dog. I'm like, yeah, whatever, move on. So I said, look, we're not really getting much right now. Let's walk up the path. So we walk up the path, just past where the mound is, and then it cuts across that open power line area, and then it goes around. And I said, wow, if I grew up here, I mean, we would be having candy parties in the back. Like this is the place you would be like smoking and drinking with your buddies.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and if definitely if I had a 4-wheel drive or, one of those ATVs, I'd be all over this. And it looks like it's been trekked through a couple of times. So we're hanging out there, and then as we come back, again, we hear the dogs, and we get to another spot. So we moved our spot, and then what we do is we like to ramp up the area with sound, so we use the singing bowl. Okay, and I love singing bowls because every time we use them, I'll just give you a little taste of that, and we start doing the singing bowl action. It seems to put frequency and energy into the air, and we get great results from it. So we do that, and I'm checking my EF meter, and nothing happens prior to the singing bowl. Then we do the singing bowl, and the meters start chiming off, right? It starts going up. So I said, could you make it go to 70? And within a second, it went to 70. That's great, thank you. Can you make it go to 45? Goes down to 45. So I'm like, okay, we have something going on here right now. We have an active something. And as we're doing it, and playing around asking this thing to change our meter levels up and down, trying to ask it questions and have an answer. Like if it's yes, go to 90. If it's no, go to 50, type of thing.
Yeah.
I have to look up, and I'm just taking in the scenery, and I look up, and about 9 feet high is a fresh break in the branch. And I go, Al, here, look. He's like, what? And look, that's a fresh break. It's about 9, 10 feet high. Who the hell did that? So we're like, okay, cool. So Al goes, you know what? Let me get a piece of wood. We'll do a tree knock, and then or I'll do a howl, Bigfoot howl. So now I'm getting leaning more towards cryptid at this point because we just found some evidence that this possibly could be, Bigfoot in the area. So he gets a piece of stick, dog's barking. He taps that stick twice, boom, boom. Dog's quiet, and you hear a 1 or 2 bark. And then he goes, I'm going to yell. I'm going to do a Bigfoot squatch. Yeah, and he does a squatch yell. Dog, shut up. Not a sound. Everything goes quiet. And the meter drops. And the meter doesn't pick up again. So, ooh, that's interesting. We just start discussing it. So it's getting a little bit late from there. We said, let's go to town. Let's get something to eat, and then we'll come back here at night. So fine, we go out, go to town, get something back, come back. But this time we didn't pull up right next to the cemetery. We pulled a little bit further up, and we parked on the right side of the road over like this. I would like to call it the trash can light bulb that you used to see in the old days, where it kind of looks like the top of a trash can, and they stuck a light bulb in the middle of it. Yeah. So, and it led to like some kind of nature trail. So it's like, okay, cool. We'll keep the car there because if the cops come by and they see us, they won't know we're in the cemetery, and they'll think, oh, they're just out in the hike, and then maybe it got lost or whatever. No problem. So we walk back in with our headlamps on, the blue or green, not to give us away. Go back to our spot where the seats were, and we sit there. And I said, look, if those guys come back, let's talk to them and ask them, some questions. I mean, they live here. Apparently, they must have seen or heard something, so let's ask the question. And true to form, without missing a beat, as soon as we walk back in there, these guys are, you can hear them coming through. You can't see them. We knew they came in. Can't see them. They're talking to somebody. So we see them go back up to that past the cemetery or out to the other side of the track. When they come down, we stop them. And we're like, what are you guys still doing here? I'm like, well, we're investigating. We're doing day night. Hey, can we ask you a question? You guys live here. Have you seen anything? Go, no, we're not answering any questions. And they got out real quick. Like super quick. And that kind of like, we took register on that immediately. So, right. Yeah, I mean, it's just the strangest thing. So we're sitting there. This is about November-ish, by the way. And it happened to be a decent November where it wasn't too cold initially. But we decided, you know what, whatever. We're going to do the night investigation. So we're sitting behind the rock. And my buddy Al has a brand new camera, new batteries, the whole thing. And for some reason, the thing doesn't start. It doesn't work. It won't work. How many times have you been on an investigation? You're like, damn it. It's just my batteries in this thing.
Oh, yeah, all the time. That's the biggest expense in investigating is batteries.
Yeah, it's like, can we hook it up to a car battery, please? But so he, and not only is he having a problem with his equipment, and I looked at it and I turned it on. I'm like, let me look at it. And I turn and it goes on, but when he touches it, it doesn't go on. I'm like, that's bizarre. And then he starts having this really stupid look on his face. Not him. Like, I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? He's like, nothing, I'm fine. I'm like, no, dude, something's wrong with you. No, I'm fine. And he gives me this weird smile. And I'm like, no, dude, you sure? He's like, yeah, just gonna keep an eye on you. And as we're sitting there, it's getting cooler. We don't hear much. There's a full moon. It's shining in through the tree light, right? Over to the left of us in that pathway that's where they put the utilities in. And my hand to God, Eric, we're sitting in a cemetery, and what starts appearing but a white mist, like a fog rolls in. And I'm like, holy crap, this is like the quintessential scene of a movie. We're like, we both noticed that. Like, is that fog? I'm like, yeah. And it starts filling the area. So there's a little bit cloud of fog over there. My buddy's acting weird. We hear some of these dogs barking in the background. And I'm like, we get to a point where we've been there long enough. We haven't gotten anything. We haven't any equipment problems. I said, look, you're not acting right. I got to get you out of here. I have to pee, and I'm not going to do it in a cemetery. I think we're done. Let's pack it up. We pack it up. We start hoofing our way out, and we hoof it back over to the car. And as we're going to the car, we see eye shine. Here's the car. So I'm thinking deer, right? And we're getting closer, and we're getting closer, and the eyes are getting bigger, and it's not a deer. Sitting from the passenger side away from me, no more than 12 feet, maybe 15 max, is a very large, what looks like Marmaduke. It's sitting on its haunches. It's got these pointy ears that go up, and it's just sitting just enough in the shadows where you kind of can't make out. It looks like a dog, but we're not sure what it is, right? So my buddy Al, he's putting his stuff in there, and I start doing the Austin Powers pee from hell. And let me explain. So I'm standing by the passenger's door. I have a machete that goes across my chest. I have one on my back, and I have one on my side. I don't have a firearm in New York, and I wouldn't bring it on investigation. I mean, if I did and it was allowed to, I probably would as a safety precaution. But again, we don't have any of that stuff, and we usually bring machetes. And I'm sitting there and I'm peeing and I'm staring at this thing that looks like a dog. And you have to understand, I am 6 feet 1 inches tall. The grade I'm on, I did it before because I fell down. I will step down the grade is at least 3 feet tall. So that makes me 6'1". That makes me 9 feet 1 inches tall in relationship to this creature that's sitting on its haunches right in front of me, whose snout is about my nose level.
Wow.
That thing stands up. It's going to be at least 9 feet tall. Now, as I'm doing this, my buddy's like, hurry up. Come on, Bryan. Hurry up. Get in the car. I'm like, dude, I got to pee. I'm not done yet. He goes, get in the car, Bryan. I'm going to leave you here. I'm like, you're not going to leave me here. Don't even want to deal with my wife on that end of that, I know you're not going to leave me here. And I'm peeing, and I know enough about dogs. My family was in the dog show world, which I hate dramatically. And I know everything you need to know about canines. I know that me peeing in front of this very large dog was a dominant move, an alpha move. And I was basically telling that, whatever it was, you're my bitch. I'm the boss here. Right?
Right.
And that was going in the back of my head. And this thing just literally like a freaking statue. And then Al's yelling, get in the car, you can pee on the other side of the road, get in the car. I'm like, I can't stop. It's like, literally the scene of Austin Powers, evacuating, and I'm going, and I don't want to pee in my pants or the car. All of a sudden, this thing slowly starts in fluid motion, just slowly lowers itself. And the minute it does that, I can see the goosebumps raise on my arm. Like you can visibly see them. And I'm like, we got to get out of here. It lowers itself and it starts moving around this log in front of me. I disappeared. I don't know where it is. I threw my shit in the car. I closed the door. I said, let's go. And my buddy Dukes the Hazard his ass out of there. And I swear to God, I thought, without a doubt in my mind, that I was going to see this huge creature chasing after us down this road. And we didn't. I didn't take my eyes off that side view mirror at all. I'm like, keep going, keep going, keep going. And he's flooring his little Jeep. And we were just like, Nick, can you pee on the other side of the fucking road? I'm like, dude, I gotta go, okay?
Right.
Yeah. So just thinking about that, I wasn't in Dogman mode at all. I wasn't in cryptid mode. But there's a great piece of evidence, and I'll probably send it to you. I have a little bit of video clip of it. I go over the video stuff. I go over all the evidence before my buddy Al does. And I'm the guy that's what do they call the tech guy or whatever. So I enjoy, if we do 20 hours and 4 cameras, right? That's 80 hours of film I have to watch. And then there's audio and whatever. So I'm listening to my audio recordings, and thank God my audio recorder breaks it up in like 5-minute segments. You can take both and put them together. It's not a problem. But they make it more palatable for you. Or a 15-minute segment. And it's like a novelist or something like that. And you hear the beep, beep, beep. And I go and I say, you say something? I said, do you hear that? And my buddy goes, nope. And the next thing you hear is a fucking growl right next to it. And I mean, like, very noticeable. I will be able to play that for you next time we talk. I mean, I can throw it into my Rodecaster, or I can load it up. You can hear it, which would be great.
Yeah.
It is just out of control. I mean, it's just one of the most amazing. It's incredible what you catch.
Yeah.
But I knew. I mean, we knew right off the bat that was a Dogman. Now, again, it just sat there. It didn't do a damn thing, but it got to the point where I think it was like, okay, I've had enough of you peeing in front of me. I'm going to show you who's boss is.
Right.
Because, here's the fun side of Bryan on investigations. I will always make jokes. I will always fool around. I can be very serious, and doesn't mean that you can't make jokes and be serious. I can do both. Okay. Prior to any investigation and post-investigation, we stage all our equipment. And my buddy Al always busts out prior to going the holy oil, and he anoints my head. And the minute he does it, I go, it burns out, it burns. Like, for once, be serious.
Right.
So I do that all the time. I mean, it's just, I can't figure out why it was doing what it's doing, but I always wanted to draw, like, the comic would be the Dogman looking at us through the woods saying, ooh, lunch. Then me coming up, because I'm a big guy, going, oh, this will do. Then me peeing with a bubble over its head. What the fuck? Right?
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, like, it's lowering itself. We've got to go. And the final thing is he's sitting around a fireplace smoking a cigarette with his other Dogman. Can you believe it? The fat guy is peeing right in front of me.
Right.
You tell it, go, Dad. Joe always has the best story, But, that would be my comic book thing. But did a Dogman presentation up at Pine Bush UFO Museum in Pine Bush, New York. Clarkston. I forgot the name of the damn town. But it's the UFO capital. It's where Whitley Strieber had his experience. He had his cabin. In that town, we did a CE5 one year. 130 plus people there, men, women, and children, including the chief of police, and we brought a huge craft in. I mean, a huge craft in. And we had to do maneuvers and light up and signal back, and everybody was just in awe. So we just did the Dogman presentation up there to a fairly packed house, and it was off the chart. And we're going to try to post that or do it on a live stream so other people can experience it. But what we do is we tell you the history of the Dogman, throughout history, where they are found, the news reports you will see, like we just discussed about, Land Between the Lakes, and the missing 401 stuff, and how you have to read between the lines. in order to understand what's really going on.
Yeah.
You know.
So where do you think Dogmen come from? Because I know there's two different camps in Bigfoot and cryptids that, one side is supernatural, interdimensional. The other side, well, I guess there's three sides because some people think they come from, aliens. Other people think there's flesh and blood creatures that are cryptids. So what, in your experiences and in your research, where do you think they come from, and what is their purpose?
Okay, so I'm going to give you my answer for what Bigfoot and Dogman are both. Okay, and this comes from decades of research. Every time you find new information or have a new clue to something, what happens is you have to reassess where you were, right?
Right.
So if you're thinking A, B, and C, and then you get something that changes that a little bit, you have to, well, let's reassess. So maybe it's C, D, and E, whatever.
Yeah.
So I had an experience in 2015. We can talk about it another time, where I always thought these cryptids were flesh and blood. Specifically Bigfoot, Gigantopithecus, some missing link, X, Y, and Z. And I thought, you know what? That's where this thing is from. That's what we're talking about now, right? Then I had this encounter in 2015 where we were at the top end of a lake and we had three whoops, and it was whoop, whoop right next to us, no more than 20 feet. The third whoop was 2 miles down the other end of the lake. I studied physics in university, just the beginning of string theory, all the good stuff. And I studied astronomy, and I thought about being an astrophysicist. I love that stuff. And I can tell you that it was theory at the time, but the only way you can go from point A to point B in literally half a second is if you can open up a portal and transport yourself there. Right?
Right.
So from that point forward, I believe the following. I believe these creatures have been on this earth for millions, if not billions of years. They've been here. They are flesh and blood when they're on planet, be it on Earth or inside the Earth, because I think they use cavern systems. They know all of them, secret ways of going from X, Y, and Z. But I do believe they also possess an innate ability to transform themselves into an interdimensional creature. And the reason why I say that is they have ability to manipulate your energy innately. I don't think they are aware of how they're doing it. They just do it. Kind of like, how do we breathe? How did you know to breathe when you were a baby?
Right.
You just do it, right? It's just part of your life. It just starts. How does your body know to be? It's just within you. I have to breathe. I have to open my mouth and take in air and whatever. So it's innate ability. But I think what they can do is they can hit on a subatomic or molecular level, and they use energy to convert their physical form into a form of energy interdimensionally. Now, when you have these cryptids and sightings with them, you usually have people saying, well, there were these orbs or it looked like UFOs. You're not seeing a UFO. You're seeing the transformation from physical energy into a different form of energy. And always in that process, there's always like a pop of extra energy that comes off, like a flash. When you get to a certain point, like if you squeeze the balloon, it would pop, right? This is what's happening when it changes from one molecular state to another molecule state into different form. It pops and it creates a light. That is actually the being. And then from there, it can then change that light into something on a subatomic level and go into dimension. So I think they're here. Now, the problem is you have a lot of people on the religious right. Now, I'm a God-fearing man, but everything now in this day is Nephilim and demons.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
They're not Nephilim and demons. They are what they are. The same thing could be said for an octopus. An octopus can literally change its shape, color, texture, everything about it to whatever it wants. It is the most incredible creature. And even scientists say, there's no reason why this thing should be on Earth.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So is that a demon? No, it's not a demon. It's just a species of animal that we've discovered, whatever it is. Maybe it's an alien species. I don't know. I believe these things are both physical, flesh and blood, as well as dimensional, and they've been doing this for a very long time. And what's very interesting is you get onto the UFO side of the spectrum. Aliens love to abduct things, not only human beings, but they travel that interdimensional highway. And when they see these beings like Bigfoot and Dogman doing these things, and there are other creatures that they see, they've abducted them too. There are reports of these creatures being released from craft, and they go in the woods and they disappear. They're abducting them just as much as they're abducting humans, because they're like, oh, well, what the hell is this that can go and do what we do? Yeah. And they're trying to figure them out as well. So that's my 2 cents on all that.
I mean, that makes as good a sense as any other things that I've heard. It's I find it interesting too that for me, I go down all these deep dives into different things and researching different things, and my forte, of course, is ghost. But I find it interesting that up until the Beast of Bray Road, kind of Dogmen and things weren't really on the radar of most people. I mean, you had researchers out there and cryptozoologists and things, but why do you think it's more popular today than it was, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and people are coming forward with their stories now?
Well, there's multiple reasons for that. First and foremost, we are now moving into territories for people living spaces that we never did before. So there are more and more people moving deeper into out of cities and into the woods, right? So we're technically trampling on their property, their land. So they're going to have encounters, and that's one of the reasons why. Also, the fact that we now have an electronic form of communication where anybody can talk about these things and their experiences in anonymity, or even just exposing themselves as who they are. I mean, this happens all the time. So it's just an opportunity thing. Like, yeah, well, there's someone did a whole series, I think, on all the men and women that are into moonshining in the Appalachians. And there's tons of stories from moonshiners. Of course, they're not going to always come forward because of what they're doing.
Right.
I mean, there's pot farmers too that have them. And these creatures love to hit the mash. They love it. They love corn. They love apples. And you ferment that, dude, it's like anybody else getting drunk, like, ooh, this was good.
Yeah.
I'm going to go down to the liquor store and pick up a 40. So there's been battles between these cryptids and these creatures on multiple fronts with some of the moonshiners out there. And some of the stories are coming out, which is fantastic. And that's why, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. You got to do your research. I don't know what it is, but the Dogman is the new flavor, and everybody's seen a Dogman, and they show you these pictures that it's literally pareidolia, and they circle like 12 Dogmen in a tree.
Right.
Okay. You have to understand something. on the small end of these creatures, I mean, they're like 6-7 feet tall. Okay. And a 6-7 foot tall human being is hundreds of pounds. So what you're saying to me is you have 4 Dogmen, which is probably well over 1,000 pounds, in a pine tree? I don't think so.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pareidolia. There's a lot of people that, for whatever purpose, fear or anxiety, are seeing these cryptids, and they're not real. It just, that's why we're hearing about it. That's why we're seeing it. Some people get off on it. They'll tell you stories. There's a lot of hoaxers out there. They'll tell you, yeah, I had an encounter with 7 Dogmen, and they're making stuff up. And that's the way it is right now with this specific cryptid. We moved away from the Bigfoot thing. Now we're into the Dogman thing. I'm wondering what's next. I actually believe I did an episode of a show called Into the Unknown with Cliff Simon. He played Ball on Stargate.
Yeah.
Really great guy. And I was in the Jersey Devil episode. I think it's the last episode of the series. And I was talking to him about Jersey Devil. I remember we were filming. I said, well, I've got all the theories about this. And they wanted me to go with strictly the narrative that's been taking place. I said, sure. But I told them a couple of things. I believe the Jersey Devil itself was a Dogman, and a deformed Dogman, one of the 7 variants, and that's what these people saw in the woods. I don't believe it was a dragon or a horse head or anything like that. The only way they could describe it is from what they know. And then, you're talking about the 1700s, so it's like they know coat of arms and the griffins and all the other mystical beasts there. So they'll just naturally assume it's that. Kind of like pareidolia, but where your brain tries to make it into something like when you look in clouds, like, oh, look, it looks like a bunny going through a donut. That's what took place. And the only reference they had was the devil, demon, and whatever on the coat of arms that the people had from the UK. But I believe it was a Dogman. I believe there are other cryptids that have morphed, like there's a ram-headed, like kind of creature. Picture Sasquatch with a ram's head, and a lot of these are defective or birth defect based part of either the Bigfoot or the Dogman genetic line. That's what's in my opinion going on. But everything's conjecture, right?
Right.
So I have my theories, and I have a lot of people that believe and thoroughly believe what I'm saying. I have a lot of people that don't like what I have to say. I really don't care. I love giving people information from my point of view, my research, my evidence.
Right.
It's not hearsay. It's not second, third party. It's like, here, this is what we caught. Okay? And that's why when we do stuff from Go, we've been posting on our YouTube page, Bronxville Paranormal Society, as well as I was doing it on my stuff as well. We always post all the raw video, like 20 freaking hours of raw video, and we want, because we're going to go through it. We're going to pull what we can pull out of it. But it's like anything else. If you keep looking at the same piece of paper over and over and over again, you're going to miss out on, stuff that you overlook, because it's like editing your own paper,
Right.
You're just going to miss out on the whole thing. And if you're not going to understand it, you're not going to get it. And you need a third party. Like, I personally stopped, doing my own papers. I used to have to get an editor to, I could write, but I need somebody else to look at it, because after a while, I'm just seeing the same, and I consider the same mistakes the way it is. So an editor comes in and looks at it and goes, yeah, you spelled this wrong. Oh, the E was so silent, you didn't include it, Brian. Yes, that's me. So we've been pointed out on numerous photos that we have online that me and my buddy and our group have seen probably 1,000 times on screens that are no more than from 13 inches to 150-inch screens. And we miss them every time. And they pointed out on one of the investigations, the one where I had the whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
There's a picture, clearly looks like a huge Bigfoot. And then there's another picture of what looks like a Dogman with a snout in the air smelling. And we missed it, but it's there. It's not altered. It's there. That's why another reason why I like to put out the original stuff. We didn't alter a damn thing of it, and we want people, we investigate, but we want you to investigate too. Go help us out. And if you find something we're wrong about something, tell us. We'll correct it.
Yeah.
I'm not shy about being wrong, and that's what we've been doing, for the most part.
Well, I think in the paranormal world in general, no matter if it's ghosts or cryptids or whatever you're investigating or researching, I think it's really easy for other people to, armchair quarterback what you're doing, because they're not out there experiencing the things you are and doing the things you're doing to try to collect the evidence. And I think one of the things that I've learned over, especially the past 10 years, because I've been investigating hauntings for almost 25 years, especially over the past 10 years, I kind of had to come to the realization that, okay, I need to stop trying to prove all of this to anybody else and just be okay with proving it to myself and know what I know.
Right.
And that also changed my view of trying to armchair quarterback other people's stories and things, because I don't want people discrediting my stories. And also with other people's stories and experiences, I can't tell you that you're wrong for what you experienced because I wasn't there. And
exactly.
Yeah. And so, and then when you look at all these stories from different people as a whole on Dogman or Bigfoot or Ghost, you have to believe in the phenomena somewhat, because why you have these thousands and thousands of people all over the world that are experiencing the same phenomena if there's not something to it?
Here's the thing, okay? I can hear a story from some numerous people, and my BS meter will rise, and it's like, well, here's the problem. I wasn't there. This person believes what they believe. They were
Right.
there for the experience. I wasn't. So I can't say, well, you're full of, whatever. I can't do that, because it's not going to be the case. I'm not there to discredit you. When I get these photos from people, the worst is where, I don't know if you experience this online. I've experienced this numerous times. I'm like, well, it looks like pareidolia, and you tell them the truth, and they go, well, you just don't see it. They're there. They're right in front of you. I can't believe you can't see it. They get pissed off at you. They ask you for your opinion. You give them an opinion.
Yeah.
And you have a valid reason for the opinion, and they don't want to hear it.
Right.
Well, you weren't there, So what I say now is, if I get something that I'm suspect about, and 99% of the times it's not good enough evidence, I say, well, the evidence isn't clear enough for me to give you a proper answer to what you're asking.
Yeah.
Which is a valid way of saying, put down the crack pipe.
Right.
And stop smoking some shit, all right?
Yeah.
It's a nice way of doing it. You're not offending anybody. And you're like, okay, and they don't get pissed off at you. When we had the experience in 2015 with this cryptid there, and you tell these people it's cryptid, and let me tell you something, it was a depends moment, man. Right?
Yeah.
Depends meaning wearing depends. Like,
right.
You could have shit yourself.
Right.
Just because we investigate this stuff doesn't mean that like you were like, Mighty Joe Young, like, yeah, there I was, whatever.
Right.
There are points where it's really unnerving. And there are also points when you have an experience, you're like, I can't believe that just happened. Oh my God, did that just happen? Because we're human beings. But you get these armchair quarterbacks. Well, I would have ran out there and I would have wrestled it to the ground. Like, no, you wouldn't. You would have shit your pants and hit a tree and poked your eye out running in the dark.
Right.
And that's a fact. And that's why, folks, when you go out on an investigation, you always want to take someone that's slower. Okay? Give you that head start on the running factor.
Right.
Let's take Timmy. He's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
That'll slow us. That'll give us a little bit, at least 5 more minutes before they come in.
But I also think that we have to come into all of this phenomena with a healthy dose of skepticism, because that is what gets the best evidence. And you can't go around yelling everything is paranormal, or like, Saggins, everything's demon, when it's not. And so I think people need to quit getting so butthurt about pareidolia and things, or, lens flares, that's not an orb, that's a lens flare. And just think, okay, well, maybe I should have looked at it that way to begin with and tried to rule things out instead of automatically just jumping to, that's a Bigfoot, that's a Dogman, in that picture, that's a ghost, that's an orb, and the first thing I try to do on any investigation, any evidence, especially visual stuff, is try to throw it out. Can I recreate it? Can I recreate that sound as an EVP? Because if I can't, and then I take it to people who I respect and I say, look, I tried all these things to recreate this. I couldn't. In your experience, what do you think it is? Can you tell me? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know. I've got some pictures of some things that, okay, you can see faces in them and things like that. And, I've caught really good EVPs. But can I tell you 100% that it was a spirit? No. And nobody can. But I'm going to tell you, I don't know. But look at this interesting picture I got. What do you think about it? There's too many people out there that are just throwing things online and throwing videos up and just automatically telling people this is paranormal. Well, how do you know?
Well, yeah. Here's my favorites are when you throw up an EVP and you tell people what it is, but it doesn't sound anything like what you're saying. It's saying I'm going to kill you. Like, no, it's not.
Right.
It doesn't say anything like that. So I would like to throw things up online saying, we caught this EVP. What do you think?
Right.
This way, we have already an assessment. We're not going to tell you what we feel just right off the bat, but we write it down, and this is what we think it is. What do you think? And then people listen to it, and some people will say, because if the minute you say it sounds like I buried Paul, they're like, yeah, I hear that. I buried Paul.
Yeah, you've already biased them. Yeah.
You don't want to interfere with the thought process. But it's we don't. I'm still amazed at some of the stuff we get. I mean, we did a library once on a ghost investigation quietly, covertly, because the librarian did not want that to get out. And I had what sounded like a foreign male with a smack on somebody. It sounded like a smack, and a woman goes, like getting hit.
Yeah.
And he said, "You want a fresh one?" It was total abuse.
Yeah.
And I literally have it on audio. You could hear it. I mean, it's pretty good EVP. And it's quick. You want a first one? And it's like, oh, wow, that's good. But we never tell anybody what it is or whatever. And everybody goes, that sounds like someone's beating somebody up. I'm like, okay, we're on the same path.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not making this up. We're not stretching. I think 99% of this, for anybody that does it, no matter if it's ghost, cryptids, Bigfoot, whatever it is, you're doing this because you have questions and you want answers.
Right.
You may not like the answer 90% of the time.
Yeah.
You may not get an answer 90% of the time. But when you get that something, hopefully it answers a portion of it, but it always, in my opinion, leads to more questions. It's like a never-ending story.
Yeah.
And the only way I think you find out the truth about what's real, what's fake, or is Bigfoot real, do ghosts come back, is when we leave this body of ours, this flesh suit, and we transfer into heaven, where everything. You're back into the source. Everything it has and will be.
Yeah.
You'll know, like, oh, shit, I was right. Bigfoot's fucking real.
Yeah.
What is this thing? Oh, my God, that's real? You'll start seeing things. And that's when we truly will know.
Right.
But I just love it. I mean, I don't do the ghost as much. I don't really need, like, can you turn the flashlight on one more time? It's like, yeah, I'm good with that. I mean, I know spirits are real. We did the table tipping, and when you first do it, you're like, well, no, I wasn't touching that thing, and that thing literally was hugging that lady next to you.
Yeah.
Where your seat.
Yeah.
And I felt that fatherly feeling. I can't describe it, but like, I know exactly that feeling. Like when you see your kids and you want to hold on to them and love them, and just, I love you, I love you, love you type of thing. Like, I miss you and I love you. That's exactly the feeling and image I got on this guy. And she felt it too. She didn't understand why, she just felt it.
And that's
so
one of those.
We'll keep doing what we do, right?
Yeah, and experiences like that, and being in on experiences like that, I love, because yes, it's subjective, but also I don't feel like I need to prove it to anybody else of what the fuck happened and what we all felt, and we all know it was real. But you had to be part of that situation. We can sit here and tell you the story all day long, and I can tell you stories of, you can sit here and tell more stories about things that happened to you, but until people experience them, they're all subjective. And that's what I love about the paranormal. It's all about the stories, and it's all about the experiences. And that's why I encourage people to get out, go investigate yourself, but learn what you're doing before you go investigate. Or, buy tickets to events. You can go on Bigfoot hunts now that you can buy tickets to. And these people will hopefully, show you the right way to investigate without getting yourself in danger or getting yourself hurt. Or seek out people that, have been investigating. And, most of us will answer your questions. You can message us, and if you have questions, if we don't know, we'll send you to somebody that maybe had an experience that can explain it to you.
But I believe you guys are doing an event, and, it's a great way to go out, find out more information, and, maybe hook up with a group and say, yeah, we'll take you out.
Yeah.
Get that experience. That's always a great way to do it.
Yeah. And what a lot of people don't understand about the paranormal world either, no matter if you're into Bigfoot, if you're researching Bigfoot or Dogman or Ghost, it's one big community, and we all network. And of course, sometimes it's cliquey like high school, but for the most part, we all network, and we help each other out in that way. And it's one big community, and we're all kind of, for the most part, united in trying to find answers.
Well, 100%. It's funny you said it's clicky. It sure as hell is clicky. It's scary clicky. And it's really weird. Like, as an investigator of everything, from ghosts to Bigfoot, UFO, whatever, cryptid, we encountered the fact that we were doing it as one group because we constantly are doing everything at once.
Yeah.
And, you can't do that. You're a ghost hunter. Ghost hunting doesn't do anything with cryptids or UFOs. So we had to break our stuff out into individual groups just to stop dealing with the BS that we're getting from so many people.
Yeah.
You know what? I've learned enough in my years doing this. There is a common thread throughout all of it.
Right.
It's a common theme, and you'd be very surprised. And you shouldn't just limit yourself to ghost hunts. And you have to branch out a little bit, and you'll understand what the common theme is. Down the line. If you don't, eventually I'm going to write a book about it. So buy the book. But whether you buy it or not, I do not care. I do things like that for myself.
Right.
Because I just want to put something out. But, there is a common thread. There's a common theme. And it doesn't just relate to the undead, aliens, and extraterrestrials and entities. It actually is a common thread throughout life. And it's really interesting when you find, when you get into that.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on that.
So, what do you have coming up in the next few months? I know we got spooky season coming up soon.
Well, I'm trying to get out to the Dogman conference in Fort Worth, Texas, run by Josh Turner.
Yeah.
If I get out there, it'd be great. I just heard an announcement. Eric Altman out of Pennsylvania is going to do the Bigfoot camping weekend in 2024. The campsite, it is absolutely awesome to go to. I highly recommend it. I'm in the process of, I'm literally writing like 3 different books at once right now. And I'm working with Ron Murphy on one book. And I gotta finish that first, otherwise he's going to kill me. He's going to come down from PA and kill me at this point. And then I'm working on 2 other books. One's a Bigfoot book, and one's a UFO-based, strictly UFO alien-based stuff. But other than that, I'm looking to do some investigations. I moved from New York to Florida, so I'm going to be doing some swamp ape investigations. And there happens to be in my neck of the woods near West Palm Beach, there is a super haunted house there. So that's what I'm doing at this point. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks for coming on. And you'll have to come on again because we could talk for another 4 hours about everything paranormal.
Yeah. You know what? I think I told you about this. I'd love to do a remote view for your live audience.
Yeah.
So everybody can participate.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Talk about that. But at this point, I must go and become a dad.
All right, Bryan. Thanks again. And everybody out there, have a good day. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to The Unseen Paranormal. Join me next Wednesday with a brand new guest. And please rate, review, share, and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you're listening right now. This helps more people discover the show. You can connect with me over on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or join us in the Unseen Paranormal Lounge group on Facebook. Until next time, remember, some of the scariest things are unseen.
You have come to the end of the line.